Hey, everybody. Welcome to Studio 6 Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Hill, with my co-host, Shane Beek. How you living?
Doing all right. I'm making
All right. Tonight, special Monday night show, we have somebody we've had on the show before and a person that we haven't had on the show before. So it should be interesting to see. They're both from Coldspotters Paranormal. Robb Demarest and I'm at Quill. And without further ado, people know who these people are. So I'm not going to really get into this long dissertation of invitation because these people are cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
What's up? What's up?
Yo.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Amanda.
Hello.
So, oh my God, do I have echo? I'm going to be mad if I have echo.
Don't have echo.
Oh God, I don't know what is wrong with I updated my computer today, so.
Yeah, you're echoing.
Son of a bitch. Okay. Let's see here.
We just won't listen to you. It's okay.
Yeah. You'll just be quiet for the show.
You know what? Go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to try to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is what it sounds like when the doves cry. Yikes.
Oh,
Yikes, Rudy. So last time I was on your show, Shane was surprising me left, right, and center by speaking some Cree. Do you know some Cree, or were you?
No.
You just picked some up. That's cool.
Yeah.
I was like,
No, I don't know any.
Mm-hmm.
But, yep. Yeah, that was a great show. We had good times.
That was fun. I don't think that we finished any sentences or stories. We just kind of next one. Which is so funny.
So what have you been up to, Rob?
Probably about 2:35. Give or take.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously as you get older, it's a consistent effort. It's hitting the gym. It's putting in the work. Just lifting strong, lifting heavy. Trying to get over that noise that Jay was making. Just the usual for me.
Awesome.
And if you can hear that in the background, I'm going to see if she'll be quiet.
Spooky things coming out of your closet, Rob.
Yeah, there's crazy shit
I'm coming out of the closet on tonight's show.
Rob's coming out tonight.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Okay, dogs. No more noise.
Go ahead. What was that, Jay?
See how that works.
Am I still echoing?
I don't
hear one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Yeah, being rushed and trying to get things organized and all this hoo-ha, when my wife texts me and says, "Can you help me unload the groceries from the car?" And that's okay. I mean, I get it. It's my husbandly duties. But,
yeah.
Now you're echoing. What's up with you?
Nothing. I haven't changed a thing. It might be just StreamYard. Don't worry about it. Let's just go.
Okay, so let's get into some questions here. So, Rob, Mike, Shane asked, what you've been up to. Let me get a little bit of your opinion on some of the stuff that's been going on lately in the paranormal field, such as some of the drama and some of the issues that even on the paranormal on TV and even the paranormal on Facebook and stuff. What are some of your opinions on some of that whole dissertation of all that?
As far as the TV stuff goes, now I'm echoing. It's funny because a lot of the stuff that's come to light, everyone who was involved in the TV side of things knew a decade ago. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is not news to those of us who knew. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I assume you're talking about Nick and Zach and Destination Fear.
Sure.
Obviously, Nick knew about that when it happened. The rest of us did. I assume he did too. Destination Fear is kind of a new thing. mark this interview as Robb stands up for Zach, right?
Okay.
Sure.
And I'm going to say why. One, I want him, as you can see on my Twitter, I want him to give me tickets to his museum. But that's not the important one. Number two is, okay, let's take Destination Fear as an example. Zach is an executive producer, which means that he doesn't have to do hardly anything, and he gets a huge paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spoken to Zach before. He is a solid businessman.
Right.
So everyone says, oh, he's all about the ego. I don't know about that. I think he might be all about the money. And if so, why put a kibosh on something that's earning him a lot of money?
Yep. Right.
But then again, look, I don't know the people from Destination Fear. I'll take them at their word for, what they think happened. It just seems odd to me. If it's not competition and it's paying you, why not stick with it?
Right.
As far as the paranormal in the social media, I take my blame for some of that stuff. My stance has been real clear. A lot of the equipment I see is a joke. Mm-hmm. It's seriously absolute crap.
I agree with that.
People are saying, I'm a paranormal investigator. No, you're not. No, you aren't. You are listening to a radio scan through channels, or you have a device that just spits out random words associated with a haunting. That's not investigating. That's LARPing.
Right.
Yeah,
you're role playing it.
Yep.
Because you don't want to put in the hours and put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on it. And a lot of people will defriend me and say I'm bitter and hate on me. That's fine. I'm not a little kid. I'm almost 30 years old. I can take that kind of criticism.
He's a little kid.
That's funny. Now, talking about some of the equipment and stuff, what are some of the equipment that Coldspotters uses?
Amanda?
Well, we are we're really big on our audio, so I'm always I have my Zooms and my DR60, and then I have what have I been using up here? The Tempest, is it called? Rob?
Yep.
Yeah, the Tempest. So and it what else? And the equipment that we got from the fellow in England, right?
Yeah, Skyer paranormal equipment.
So
he's doing some really cool stuff.
We're really pretty kind of like just basic. I don't do too much. I kind of make fun of Rob a lot of times because he always has so many things because he's trying out so many devices or trying out so many.
I'm crazy like that. We talked about this last time.
Yeah. So it's like his little yeah. But yeah, no, we're pretty basic. Just Rob loves this. We use our senses.
Oh, that's so stupid. I really honestly dislike when people say that. When they go, hey, I'm old school. I stick to my senses. First of all, old school does not go back as far as the movie The Exorcist. Right. We're talking hundreds of years. And hundreds of years ago, they were still using equipment.
Of course.
So the problem I have with it is this. I rely on my senses. They'll never let you down. That's completely untrue. Your sight will let you down. Your hearing lets you down. Even your sense of smell lets you down. We are not a amazing, if you put a great voice recorder against my hearing, voice recorder wins every time.
Oh, of course.
It's true.
So whereas I have no problem with people using their senses saying, I just use my senses. Okay. But, so what? I guess my point is it's fine depending on what you're doing this for.
Right.
If you want to get quantifiable evidence, which is very tough in this field, it's proven impossible thus far, but that doesn't mean it'll never happen. Mm-hmm. Then your senses aren't good enough. I saw an apparition. Actually, this is a true story. I did see an apparition near Amanda's old apartment in Canada. So you guys have to accept that you guys are hardcore skeptics. Well, I saw it, therefore it is. You guys have to change your minds right now because I'm telling you I saw it. No, what are you laughing at?
Right.
Yeah, I know how it is.
Yeah. No, and
you know what I mean? Honestly. Yeah. So, but my sense is, I didn't hear anything, but I saw it. Well, did you get a video? No, man. I'm old school. I sense that shit. Oh, I cut off there.
Right.
We like to try new things as well too, and try different ideas. Or I actually used a random word, the energy speaker, or something on the Tempest, and it was kind of crazy because I usually don't go for those gadgety kind of equipment, and this day it was actually answering every question. Now, it wasn't actually coincidence, probably yes, but like for instance, like we're in the lower mainland of British Columbia here. So when I said, "Where are we?" it came up mainland, and I asked what was around me, and I was looking outside at a tree, and there's trees. So it's a stretch, but why not? Why not try it? A lot of people are really into it, so.
I mean, I think it's funny if I have to watch one more video where they go, "You guys aren't prepared for what's about to happen. Watch this." And they show a clip, and they're like, "What's my name?" Zip up, zip. It said my name. No, it didn't. Shut up. That's a radio station.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people. Like, remember when we threw away the flashlight on and off? It seemed to be like promising, and then someone said, "No, that's electron jump," and we all went, "Oops."
Yeah.
Why can't we do that with the radios and the Ovilus and the Kinect camera? You know, because people are enjoying it too much. It makes investigating more fun. Because understand you're playing pretend.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole thing. I mean, that's why we love to have these conversations, because we like to have different people on our show that can kind of come from all different avenues, you know, and whether the people that watch this or listen to this, you know, believe or not, it doesn't matter. We do this because this is why. I mean, we want all sides of the opinion.
Sure.
You know? And so, yeah, but let's get into a little bit of some of your investigations. So let's talk about some of your notable ones that you guys have both been on that you are scratching your heads at.
Amanda?
Well, I actually had one recently that was really cool. It was a fellow who believed that there was multiple people messing with him, and they were all on the other side. And it ended up it was almost. Have you ever seen the movie Big Fish?
Yes.
I haven't.
It's almost like kind of Forrest Gumpy. Like all the stories are completely unbelievable, but then in the end, you actually get a piece of, you know, a picture or something that shows that this guy was there. And this fellow was like that. He was so fascinating. He had so many stories, he just been around the world. He just unbelievable stuff. But he had a lot of loss in his life. And I found that he almost had made the people that he missed become his ghosts, almost like tulpas, almost like manifested it into his own kind of, I don't know, like why would he, I don't know, it was just his own survival, his own
it's like a Philip experiment.
Yeah, it was really fascinating, and he could actually tell when one voice would speak. We had the DR60 going, and he'd be like, "Okay, this is going to be Florence," and then it would be a woman's voice that we would get. "Oh, this is going to be Danny." So it's almost like he was bringing it out himself. So that kind of had me a little bit baffled a little bit, but we went in there thinking that this was going to be a demonology case, and it wasn't at all. Unless you look at it kind of like their old theories of like demons are what we don't understand or what have you.
Sure.
Yeah, so see, I'm baffled even trying to explain it. It's just like, it just seemed like he was really doing this for his own survival, for his own everything. And it was so fascinating because I can't tell you that those spirits weren't there.
Right.
Even though it 100% seemed to come from him. Yeah, not from another person in the room, let's say. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Jay, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, Amanda.
No.
I was just going to ask Jay. I believe he asked for a story about an investigation that both of us had done. Jay, is that correct?
Yeah.
well,
I would love to give a story to correctly answer the question, Jay, if I might. We were investigating.
Wait a minute. Is this how it is with you guys? I mean,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is adorable.
No, but this is really fascinating.
Yeah.
So we were investigating in Canada, and we did what used to be part of a prison.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked in, and there was a couple gentlemen already there who I assumed were there to investigate it, and a couple of young women. So we headed downstairs and we did some EVP work, and we were getting some pretty good EVPs. And I came back upstairs, and half the group had gone. And I asked what was going on, and they said, "Oh, they're just in the other room." And then Amanda came up and went in the other room, where this group of people was engaged in lovemaking on camera.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Well, no, I mean here's what left me scratching my head. They started getting into a rather heated debate about whether you wear your underwear before you sell them on eBay. And then they decided it was getting out of hand, so they decided to have a meeting about it. I'm not making any of this up. Here's the part that leaves me scratching my head. They said, Amanda, Rob, if you guys could come with us. So I was part of a roundtable discussion, as was Amanda, on whether you actually need to wear your underwear before you sell them if you're an adult entertainer.
This is so funny. It's so true.
Oh my gosh!
I pitched a subscription service of the underwear.
I pitched a tent. Zing!
Oh.
It was one huge building, and it was rented out by two different people, I guess, let's say, during the day, and then we were in there at night. Well, the film crew didn't have to leave after because they thought we were just going to be in the basement, so they just stuck around, and yeah, it's very interesting. We had paratroopers in there.
Wow.
I don't know if this is what the
Oh no, he really was one, and then he was dressed as one as well.
Like, could you get in trouble for that?
That's
like wearing
the kind
your
of nuance
paratrooper?
that you get. Well, I mean, you don't hear a lot of behind-the-scenes story, but he actually was a real, legitimate paratrooper. And for his scene, I don't know what it entailed, but he dressed as a paratrooper for his scene.
Wow.
And before I left, I just shouted as loud as I could, "God hates you guys," and I ran. I mean, he was a paratrooper. I was out of there.
All right. That I guess wasn't quite the question I had.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but certainly much closer than Amanda. I agree.
Yeah, right.
Oh, stop it!
I mean, as interesting as that story was, there's some different people out there, that's for sure, and in the paranormal field, I would guess, but. Let me rephrase that question and say, so what would be the, I guess, an investigation where you guys actually found some evidence that really scratched your head?
Never happened.
Never happened?
Never found any evidence. I'm kidding. Rob?
I didn't understand the joke, Amanda.
Oh. Never mind. We're nailing it today. All right.
Well, don't say we.
Don't say we.
Oh,
You know, I mean, before you came on, Amanda, when you were struggling a little behind the scenes, Jay was really upset and kept talking about amateur hour, and Shane was trying to calm him down. And,
No.
well,
Don't
that's the
believe
way I
it.
remember it, and my senses tell me everything I need to know.
Right. Well,
Something
Amanda,
that,
you know that's not true.
okay, I'll give you a quick example. When I was filming Ghost Hunters International, we got the sound of clearly what is akin to a slide whistle. It went,
Okay.
boo,
That's cool.
and I remember debating, like, okay, so if we present this, we look like idiots.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't present it, and there was no one in the room where the sound occurred, aren't we kind of reverse faking? So at our own detriment, we put it on the show, and everyone was like, as we expected, everyone was kind of like, what a bunch of morons. But I've heard music before. I've heard instruments play of their own accord, but never a slide whistle in an empty room. So that one was, you know, I mean, it was a fort. Did they play? You know, I mean, like,
Yeah,
is there a
right,
residual of a penny whistle going? I don't know.
Right.
It was very odd.
Now, you've investigated a few forts, have you not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what would you say would be a good fort to go to? I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about how forts are, you know, because of the military, because of all the action that these forts have and the history of them all. Do you have one that you would say?
Yeah, there's a port in. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda.
It's very fascinating. Fort Worden in Port Townsend is phenomenal. Anyway, take it away, Rob.
No, that's fine. What makes it phenomenal in your opinion, Amanda?
It's so pretty. No, there's houses there. There's a castle there. There's all the barracks. There's an old hospital there that was a school as well after it was no longer used as a hospital. It was kids, like a youth detention center for a while. It's just absolutely fascinating, and it's beautiful, like I said. But I've never gone there and not had just amazing investigations or amazing activity in the house that we're staying at. So yeah, Fort Worden, if anyone is in that area, go check it out. It's amazing. But Rob has better places.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do, but you know, it's not a contest. I would say Port Arthur Penitentiary in Australia is pretty amazing, pretty active. The weird thing about that one is the one of the biggest mass shootings in Australian history took place right on the site, and that led to a massive gun ban, which we're not going to debate in this forum. But
Right.
the worst part about it is, as he was shooting, there's people out for the day, and it's a beautiful area. People thought it was a recreation of some sort and headed right towards him.
Oh,
Oh,
my.
no.
Oh,
Yeah, so, and we weren't allowed, here was the strange part, we were not allowed to talk about it on camera because it happened so recently that it was very fresh in people's minds.
Sure.
But, you know, I would like to do this while I'm here. This is Dr. Thunder, my sponsor. And look, I'm Andre the Giant. Look, wait, can we see that? Can we go to camera two? Camera two? Ah, I'm so big.
Yeah.
I think he said fort, though, not port.
Fort?
Not fort.
Did you cut off her video for interrupting?
No.
No, I didn't. No.
Your internet probably had it.
StreamYard is being difficult today for some reason.
Yeah, you know, I always rank it kind of number one. If you said, look, I want to get activity, I either believe or I don't believe. I want to make sure that I've only got one investigation left. What would you recommend? Don't give me a specific, give me a type. my top three would be 1, mental asylum, 2, incarceration, prison, jail, what have you, 3, military usage. Forts and so we kind of in the Philippines had all of that at Clark Air Force Base, which was a lot of people, American soldiers that were served in Vietnam, were helped there, and some of them didn't make it, but incredibly active location.
Sure. Right. And that's the one thing about like forts and like air bases and military bases, stuff like that, stuff that is not active anymore. It just, it holds so much of that energy left over. And I just find that forts are really pretty interesting. And plus the fact that even the castles, like you've gone to a couple different castles. Both of you have, haven't you?
I haven't investigated per se in a lot of them, but I've been to.
Okay.
Yeah. I just hang out there.
And you have been in there.
I've investigated probably 7, 8 castles.
Wow.
Chillingham in England is quite active. My pet theory, which Amanda and I have discussed, is that spirit energy, whatever the bond, the atomic bond that holds it together, dissipates over time.
I would agree
people
with that.
People always say, why don't we see cavemen? Well, quite possibly there were at one point visible cavemen ghosts, but that bond that was holding them together dissipated. And so for me, a lot of the castles we did may have just been right on the brink of not much going on anymore.
That makes sense.
It was just too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites was again GHI, and it was my favorite castle because they said, oh, and there's also a rumor that there's a lake monster in this big moat around the place. So we were caught in a windstorm, so myself and Joe Chin went outside to get a look at it. And no one wanted us to do it because they weren't going to use it on the show and it was wasting time. Man, I don't care. I want to go find the lake monster. So the point of the story is that there was a massive windstorm to the point that you couldn't even speak. And I had so much saliva build up in my mouth that I turned to say something to Joe, who was behind me, and a massive wad of spit came flying out of my mouth, hit Joe square in the face, to which he responded, oh, great, it's starting to friggin' rain.
Oh, no.
And that's my story about haunted forts and castles.
All right, so I got some questions. Okay. So the last time when we had Amanda on, we grilled her about what kind of equipment, et cetera, she uses. And I know that you had mentioned that you didn't like the gadgets and the whiz bangs. So what exactly do you use for your investigations and why?
I would change the question a little bit. I don't have a problem with gadgets. If you can track back why they're appropriate. Understood. I've got a rifle case under the bed that is behind me that is just filled with what most people would call gadgets, but I feel like they have more value. Motion detectors, video cameras, audio recorders, environmental measurement, what is the oxygen level? What is the carbon dioxide, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sure. Now, they may have nothing to do with a spirit, but you have to be able to cross that off a list at some point. So you have to kind of, throw a wide net. Yeah. So I use, as Amanda pointed out, probably too much equipment. I talked a lot of smack, but I'll backtrack it and say, at times I don't use my senses enough. If your eyes are just on all the gear in front of you, you may be missing out on the big picture of, the spirit walking right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I use a lot of equipment, but it's much different than the typical ghost hunter. I build all of my own stuff, and I have a sensor board that records like 26 environmental sensors all at once, and it data logs them every second, and it's synced to the video. I even do what would you call it? Automated investigations at times, where I will literally have a computer that runs a pre-recorded script or whatnot, and you can literally set it and tell it, hey, randomly throughout the night, run this script, and then all the equipment syncs to the computer, syncs to the video, syncs to the audio. And so literally it will do EVP sessions automatically. It'll do and I have data logs of everything. I have every bit of video that ever existed for it, and
I do exactly the same. The Tempest measures, I believe, every half a second. It's rechargeable up to 8 hours, so you can walk into an investigation, set it down, and say go. I have the similar software that will run an EVP session whenever you want, automated, and record the responses. Amanda.
Yeah.
So So
and then at the end of the night, you just plug it into your computer. So, which begs the question. There's the Tempest. Look at that little tiny guy.
Nice.
That's what I've heard that quite a bit in my lifetime. Hope the kids are asleep. Everyone at
Amanda's
home.
staying quiet on that one, so we'll keep moving.
Right.
Yeah, we probably should. Oh, hold on 1 second. That's the door. I hate to interrupt at such an important moment.
I'll be here.
No, I'm just kidding. Nobody visits me. So the point of it is Amanda has the Tempest there with her. What I want to say is if this is a question I've had, because I do, Shane, much the same as yourself. I love the idea that you can have an extra investigator that you just plonk down, hit go, and walk away, and that room's covered. My question starts to become, does the spirit, it's like the tree falling in the woods, does the spirit come out and interact if it's not, quote unquote, sensing the presence of anyone living and breathing?
Well, here's some theories to back this up. So, number one, if you think about it, a lot of people say if you have a voice recorder and you let it run and then you play it back, you hear voices and sounds that you didn't hear as a human while you were standing there. And the theory is that entities would create an electromagnetic field and that they're directly interfacing with the microphone, not actually creating sound waves in the air. So you don't hear it, but they do. So the other thing is when I run these sessions, I intentionally use a fairly strong speaker connected with an EMF device. And so I intentionally emit on their same EMF frequencies the sound from the presentation. And literally what it will become is an automated EVP session. So I'll run the board for like an hour. I'll let it collect the numbers. Then I'll come in and it'll start the presentation and it'll say, okay, if there's any entities present in this room, can you alter the magnetic field in this room, say? Or can you change the temperature? And it'll say, I'll give you 30 seconds to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And so then what I do is I take those 30-second chunks of that data and I use statistical software just like a science professor would do, or science lab would do. And I actually do the statistics to say, okay, was this statistically significant? Did we see changes? Did we see spikes? Did we see standard deviation changes? And then we compare that with that baseline. 90% of the time, nothing happens. It's just flatline the whole night, nothing. But certain locations, you will get them to actually, you tell them to touch the magnetic sensor, they'll touch the magnetic sensor. You tell them to change the radiation in the room, they'll change the radiation in the room. You tell them to move the temperature, they'll move the temperature. And the great thing about it is you've got a video camera on this sensor board, so there's no way it's people pranking or coming up there and messing with stuff. And number two, you have the baselines from hours of it just sitting there running, and you're comparing those specific 30-second chunks with the rest of the signals for each sensor. And you will start to see patterns. Plus, now I've got numbers. Somebody wants to argue, say, all right, I can't prove it's an entity, but hey, look, 4 times right in a row within their exact 30-second time, I had these exact changes. And they will only touch the sensor that they were told to touch. All the rest will stay straight. And because I'm relogging them all simultaneously, I can see that, and then if there's, some kind of activity in the room, I'll see it on the camera. I'll go and look at the data. Or if I see a blip in the data, it's like, ooh, there's a bunch of spikes right here. What happened in the room at that time? Now, almost always, it's some other investigator walked through the room or did something and it triggered a bunch of the sensors. But not always. There have been times that I've actually left this all by itself. Literally rented a place, came in there, set up the equipment, locked the door and left, went out to dinner, went out to the nightclub, come back at like midnight, picked it up, took it home, and then analyzed it when I got home. And sure enough, during only the EVP sessions and only the sensors they were told to touch, they touched. Now, this does not happen very often. I'm going to say probably 1 or 2% of the investigations get that level, but it does happen. Because I'm like 80% skeptic, 20% believer. And the only reason I haven't quit this field is because that 1 or 2%, it's just, there's no way to explain it. I mean, there's no humans in the house.
It keeps you interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just trying to actually get the results of, like your home automation,
You're trying to take the people out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not trying to like communicate or actually have that kind of.
Well, and then the other thing you discover is you get these investigators, they go in and they shoot in there with their K2 meter and the thing's blinking and they're just talking at the camera and they're like, oh, look, it's going off. And then it stops. And then a few minutes later, it does it again, and it's like, okay, you guys are getting all excited, but is there anything really happening? And my favorite example is one time I had this board at a big mansion house, and I kept, people kept saying, hey, my K2 is going off. My K2 is going off. I'm like, all right. So I go back and I look at the board data right there while I'm sitting there. And I'm like, yes, there was EMF spikes in this house at that time. So then I left it going and I just left it recording the whole evening. Well, when the next day when I'm reviewing the data and I'm paying attention to this, I realized that every 10 minutes and 8 seconds, there's a blip of EMF. And it's like, oh, this just happened to be while they're talking because 10 minutes isn't that big of a difference, and there's all these investigators all over the house. So after I did some more research and saw the timing, I realized it's the sprinkler pumps for the lawn sprinklers in the backyard. Every 10 minutes and 8 seconds, they kick on, it runs one cycle and shuts off. And so that the motors for the pumps filled the entire house with EMF. I mean, it was strong, especially in the basement. It was off the scale. Upstairs, 3rd floor, barely could see it. In the basement, it almost pegged the equipment. But if you didn't log like that and see all the data, big picture, long term, and see all the spikes, the computer software I wrote will actually tell you these are where the spikes are at. These are how long they were. This is how many there was, how strong they were, blah, blah, blah. So once I know that, then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Those repeat exactly every 10 minutes and 8 seconds. That's not an entity. That is a human-made device somewhere. And I went looking for it.
Right.
So Shane,
yes.
Shane, would you say 100%, and this is your words, not mine, so I don't want to be misquoted, but to surmise what you're, and summarize what you were saying that the K2 has absolutely no value on a scientific investigation.
Oh, no.
And don't backtrack now because we have you on tape.
Hey, so here's what I'll tell you.
This is good.
A K2 meter has a purpose. It was meant to find 60 cycle EMF for locating wires, locating bad motors, bad appliances. It has an actual use. Ghost people took it and said, hey, this thing can pick up EMF. It's got cool colored lights. We can show this on our camera and we'll look cool.
Mhm.
So that's what happened. But now, the nice thing about the K2 meter is if there is a lot of pulses of EMF, yes, it picks them up. It's supposed to. That's what it does. Now, if I see a K2 going off a lot, then I'll go back to my board data and actually spend a little more time looking. So I kind of use it as more of a early warning system. You know, if the K2 lays there all night and didn't blip once, well, then there's probably not going to be anything on the EMF for the board data either. You know, so I can kind of skim it quicker. But if it's blinking all night, then I can look at it closer and go, it's worth my time to take the extra 5 minutes.
Well,
yeah, Jay actually defriended me because at one point I asked him about his use of the K2, and his explanation was, Jay, you know this is true. I will pull up screenshots to anyone who's interested. Jay told me that he can tell the severity of a haunting because obviously red means bad and green means good. Those are his words.
Yeah, that totally sounds like me. Yeah,
that's what you said to me.
I
and
think
you were like,
remember unfriending you. Oh wait, no, I didn't. Rob,
you said, and I quote, everyone has a right to an opinion, and everyone's opinion is equal. So why don't you shut up, bro, Hamage? Your words.
Yeah, no, never my words. No,
So anyways,
people know me, know better than that.
Yeah, so that's how I do my investigations. I mean, another device that I built along this line, think of it like a ghost CB radio. Remember the old CB radios from the 70s? Well, maybe you're not old enough. Since he's 30.
No,
Since he's 30, he's not old enough to remember the 70s like me.
What are the 70s?
Huh?
What are the
like the Rex?
1970s.
1970s. Never heard
That's
of
before her.
1970s.
She's a young girl. So
no,
anyway,
I mean, I know there was rumors of a time period known as the 70s.
yes, that's it.
But I always thought it was 7, the letter D.
No,
it
is not.
No.
So anyways,
yeah, 70s.
Remember the old radios that truckers used to use? Still use.
Yeah, the
actually.
BCs.
Yeah, the CBs. CB radios.
CBs.
So
BCs.
basically, I built one of those to speak with the entities. Because the
now
idea
you're just bragging, Shane.
No, it's cool. So the idea was, okay, if an entity generates EMF and shows up in your voice recorder when you don't hear them, what if I generate EMF of the same type so that they can hear me better?
I being dead serious, I think EMF is a dead end.
Fair.
No pun intended. I think that we it's a nice thing that we don't know, or previously we didn't know much about. So people said, okay, well, it's we don't understand quite where it's coming from. So maybe it's a ghost. And now it's like EMF pumps and EMF. I remember when there was the device, I'm sure there's people still selling it, that purports to translate your voice into EMF tone that goes out through a speaker. And you can speak to the ghosts in EMF.
No, but this is not. This makes no sound at all.
No, I know. I'm just saying that in my opinion, I'm not saying that, if it works for you, fantastic. I feel like there's a lot of other avenues that we could walk down.
Oh, obviously. It was just a side gadget. But the interesting thing that we found, and this is just one example, and I've only had it for a very, very short time. It's only been on 2 investigations ever because I just built it. But we were in a mansion down in the basement where the stone walls, where they had the rough cut stone in flat mortar, whatever, stone. Right. As you moved the wand along that walls, you would come to certain types of rocks and you would actually hear a hissing or a whispering kind of a sound. You couldn't make any words out. There was no syllables, but it was like that. Okay, so you hear that and you're thinking, okay, that's nothing. So you pull the wand away, it goes away. You put the wand closer, it gets stronger. You touch it, it's really strong. You're like, okay, that's pretty cool. So then we put the wand right up to it. I key up the microphone and I talk. So it's just blasted. I mean, every K2 in the whole building is probably going off at this point because I'm flooding the whole building with EMF. When we would unkey from that and listen, the whispering sounds would be gone for probably between 2 and 5 minutes. And then they would very slowly, whispers would start come back again. And we repeated this 2 or 3 times with 2 different people wearing the headphones to test this out. So that event happened. Whether it's paranormal, I have no idea, but it is definitely an anomaly that needs further investigation.
Right, right. So I think that part of that too is, when you're talking about, have either one of you been at some place where you've been told that it's, the land is haunted or the lands have spirits, have you ever run into anything like really dominant? Like if you go to a place where they say the land is haunted and you've caught anything? Either one of you.
Amanda?
Well, I do believe that there's a lot of like sacred lands, and there's a lot of very spiritual lands out there. As for catching anything, no, but I've had like some really, really fascinating experiences, like say like out in the middle of nowhere, and whether it be like squatching or just some really insane elemental kind of activity. I never caught anything. I've never caught.
Have you ever had anything in your native lands up where you're from?
Well, yes. I mean, there's tons of stuff, and our traditions are quite deep with that.
Sure.
So I definitely do believe that there's in traditional lands there's a lot of like spirit walking.
Sure.
But once again too, with that's not really something that we would investigate. That's more something that we would
respect and just leave alone. Yep.
Exactly. Experience and learn from, right?
Sure.
No EMF there. Nope.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, obviously, like subsequent to my knee surgery, which happened in my 20s, a friend of mine.
He's got a weenie now.
No. It's. I do have a penis. I don't know what that has to do with the conversation.
You talked about your knee. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
have needs.
Keep moving.
But no. The point of the story is that even after the surgery, I leg pressed 4 reps over 1,100 pounds.
Wow.
And so people want to talk about, is that paranormal? Well, yes, because, you norms could never get to those heights. And that's for everyone that's in the chat room as well. You can't beat me. You can only try and be me. Rob D, the man to see.
Thanks, Rob. I also wanted to bring up an interesting fact that I go absolutely crazy about. It's like the whole native Indian burial ground. Stop it, people. Stop it. It's not a thing.
Right.
And that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that story about
I got kicked off again.
About Amityville. They discovered it was on Indian burial grounds. Nope. False. It was the nearest Indian burial grounds that had any documentation was about 20 miles away, which you can imagine in the times that it was inhabited by Native Americans. 20 miles, on foot is quite a distance. Right. So, there was a psychic who, look, I don't even care. Hans Holzer's psychic used to say that there was Indian burial grounds all over the damn place. You couldn't take a step to your right without Indian burial ground causing a haunting. Right. And I think that's where we get a lot of that today. Not a knock on that psychic. Nobody's 100% in anything they do besides me. But, as I mean, that's part of, you got to take your contribution. If people say, well, what have you contributed to the paranormal? You got to kind of take the good with the bad. Right. Dustin Perry, for example, we know that he will tell you that his greatest contribution is bringing back the upside down backwards golf visor. and yes, that is a contribution. The value of it remains unknown. But 100 years from now, no one's going to say, "Oh, Rob never smiled on camera." They're going to say, "Remember the guy who stood next to the guy with the upside down backwards golf visor?"
Yeah.
That's a legacy.
Yeah, that's how we know.
That's how. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's
It's
awesome.
true.
So having spoken about, we were talking about, the burial grounds, or the land aspect. How about when you were talking about Amityville, Rob? Was there any place that you would think that? Well, let's stick with Amityville. Amityville basically, had the stories behind it. And I think like Hollywood kind of ruins some locations just because.
You think it was Hollywood, Jay, or you think it was the people who lived there and over a couple bottle of wine decided to enhance the story?
I think that it was a premises of something started somewhere, and I think that with Hollywood kind of jumped on board and said we can make this really scary, way more than it really is, and I don't know. So, would there be a location or a place that you have personally been to, or Amanda's been to, where Hollywood has basically kind of taken over that? Have you been to some place where they've, like remade a movie about it, or?
I mean, I've been to quite a few. There was one in England where they said, "Oh, this is where they would this mass murder legend started from," and they attribute it to movies and stuff. And they said this floor used to drop out, and the guy who was passed out would fall into boiling water and die. Well, the floor was original. Mm-hmm. There was no way that the floor was cut out and there was a giant spring system, right, a la Scooby-Doo.
Right.
Not so much Hollywood, but Rose Hall in Jamaica, I truly believe is not haunted. Okay. We were there. We successfully, and I don't say this loosely, we successfully debunked one of the most famous photographs they have there. And the legend really came about as kind of a story to try and scare the slaves not to mess with the women of the home, because she might be that famous witch that will kill you. Nothing about that place was active. We went down there, and they obviously spent quite a bit of money to send us there, and nothing happened. Right. And so we packed up, and they said, "All right, well, we just got a phone call. We're investigating again all tomorrow night." And I was kind of disappointed because they knew that we were legit and on the up and up. And I think that it was perhaps more insulting that they said, "These guys are idiots. Give them enough time and they'll find something."
Right.
Haunted. I talked to an executive producer who told me, "Look, I don't believe in ghosts whatsoever. I think it's all bullshit." Excuse his language.
Right.
I think you guys are just creeping yourselves out and getting a bunch of junk.
Yay!
And I appreciate his honesty. The downside is that they kind of felt like, we can send you anywhere that looks really cool or has a backstory related to a movie or whatever, and you'll find something. And then they were upset when we didn't find anything.
Not necessarily true. Yeah, you won't. Not every place is haunted. Very few, actually.
One that comes to mind, and once again, not a movie, but we went to. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this one. We went to Waverly Hills, and for me, it seemed like it was more of a tour. Like, you have to go to this location, you have to go to the body shoot, you have to go see this, and it was not really about investigating there. It was more about, let's see the hot spots. And then when it actually came to real investigation, we weren't really overwhelmed or anything. Like, it was just kind of, it was a really cool building. It's really cool. And I loved exploring it, and I loved seeing, but a lot of their ghost per se can be explained like immediately. So it's, yeah, I'm probably.
Well, how many times have you guys run into cases where you, before you've even gone inside, and I know we shouldn't make snap judgments, etc., but you look at it and you hear the history of it and you say, creepy looking, so everyone decided it was haunted and now they investigate there. You know, you get
probably a good percentage of them.
Yeah, a lot of school districts change because they, you know, they're able to travel more, so they don't need as many tiny outposts. So you have these gigantic buildings of no value anymore. And so people buy them up and say, the haunted kindergarten. Why the hell was your kindergarten haunted? Come on, man.
Right.
You got to do better than that.
Right. Yeah. No, we have places around here, even where I live. I mean, there's some houses that buildings that say, oh yeah, there's a history of hauntings there, and you know, you go up to it and it's like, yeah, it's really not, you know. But I think that's everywhere. I think that's a lot of places that people really want to believe that it's haunted.
Yeah.
And really want to like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that really want this or certain places to be haunted, and then there's a handful of ones that want to fake it to make it haunted.
Oh yeah,
sure, of course.
And
some of them have been called out.
Yeah.
And if you're in the know, you know.
Right.
You know, I remember Amanda and I were driving to Savannah, Georgia, to go hang out and investigate there. And there was plenty of houses along the way that we said, totes haunted, you know, because they were just abandoned and run down.
Right.
You know, and I guarantee you, if someone got permission to run tours there, they would come up with a great backstory about the family who, you know, disappeared or was murdered there.
Right.
You know, I'm sure we could all think of some locations that have been done to death in the TV side of things where the stories are not legit.
Right.
One
for
comes
TV,
to mind.
It's good for everybody. You know.
Yeah, I mean, there's one that comes to mind. I won't give enough to give away which one it is, but the backstory on it had to do with a murder, and it turns out that the murder, anything associated with the murder happened miles and miles away from this location.
Oh, wow.
But it has made there then one of the top attractions in the States to say that it happened there.
Right.
You know, people want to make money.
Yep.
I think that's the bottom line. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially now, the people that are into the paranormal think that, you know, there's a certain amount of people that want to be on TV and want to be famous and want to be this and want to be that. But, you know, you're in the wrong business.
Well, I'll let your listeners know right now.
Right.
Paranormal TV comes and goes in cycles, generally about 10, 11 years, sometimes a little shorter, going back to the invent of television, basically. And I got bad news for all you people out there. We are hitting a massive downturn.
Yeah. So
when you hear, you know, these shows, your favorite show got canceled, it may not be any more paranormal than ratings are down for ghost shows. You remember a couple of years ago where you'd hear about the new shows coming out and 7 of them would be somehow paranormal in nature?
Sure.
You're not going to see that for quite some time. You might hear about 1 or 2,
right?
You know, but it's definitely I've heard from people in the industry directly who said nobody's interested in paranormal shows.
Right. I think I've kind of noticed a little bit of that too, but
as long as they don't give up podcasts.
Right, no kidding, right? Yeah.
Well, but see, that's the difference is podcasts and a lot of the YouTube investigators, some are good, some are bad.
Yep. Agreed.
Some are faking, and I can tell, you know, and if I called them out, they'd just say I'm bitter anyway, so what do I care?
Right.
But those people, what people don't understand is they go, oh, they're more famous than... No, they may be famous within the paranormal field, which is actually preferable to being famous to the general public.
Right.
Because the general public doesn't, you know what to expect on investigation. If I take, you know, this candle and I say, "This is my magic whoa, there's ghosts about." Well, if you're at home, you just accept that as true. If I watch a show about digging for gold in Alaska, and they say, "What you got to do is keep this salt on your head 2 hours before you go mining," I go, "Okay, I guess that's how you do it. I don't know how to mine for gold in Alaska. If you tell me this is how you find ghosts, okay, I believe you." But to have a successful podcast or internet show, you're really looking towards people who know better,
Right.
and or some of us.
Right.
That makes sense.
Do you know better, Rob?
I do. I can watch the shows and tell you right down.
I
to
can't
the
even
letter
force
how they're
myself to
doing
watch
it.
most of them.
I don't watch. I watch recreation shows because, and here's why: they're not saying here's evidence; they're telling a ghost story, and I can choose whether I believe it or not. I remember, I didn't know Amanda, and I saw her on a show called Haunted Hospitals, and I was like, "Whoa, she's a bit of a little looker there," So I looked her up on Facebook. And I was like, I believe I used the pickup line, "Are you from Tennessee? Because your dad's a thief." And that one has worked so many times for me. I know Jay prefers, "Is that a mirror in your pocket? Because I'm from Tennessee." That's another gold. That'll do well for you.
All right.
Works every time.
For people at home, write these down. They work. Right, Amanda?
Rob
right,
yes. The Immortal.
Yes, they work. Yeah. That's how you got me.
Yep.
The Immortal.
Yep. So then you got Amanda Quill, Spooky Molder. So any parting remarks before we head off this wonderful show?
Amanda.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. I would like a fish. I would like one little fish. And Rob doesn't think that I should have one. So just going to bring that out to the public.
Okay.
This horrible.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. I would like to thank the Dutchman Tattoo Parlor in New Westminster, British Columbia. If you can see it on camera, that was done there. That goes all the way around. Right. Amazing. Also, Amanda was featured in Vampires magazine to answer the age-old question, who would win in a fight between a vampire and a werewolf? That I'm not making this up. So if you're in Canada, if you're in BC, definitely head over to the Dutchman. They are money in the bank. Also, my other sponsor, Terry Kuykendall, Ford Toyota out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. He
will ship.
Yes, he is ready to ship, and his saying, come on down to Kuykendall Ford, where the prices are spookerific.
All right.
Well, you guys have been great.
It's been fun.
An interesting show, to say the least. I love it. I mean, I've been trying to get you and both of you guys on for a while now, but since we've had Amanda, it's so fitting that Rob D. the Immortal be on here with us. And so we really appreciate you guys coming on and talking.
And I appreciate you putting me first. It was Amanda Quill and Rob. So that was top billing here. 2 in a row now, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to say I have a page now, AQ Amanda Quill, that I'm doing a lot of ridiculous stuff on. So. Okay. Oh, my gosh. Like this. Rob has installed motion detectors in our house that are fart ninjas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's pretty good.
That's pretty cool. Nice.
I'd also like to thank my sponsors over at Fart Ninja, your number one go-to source for all your ghost hunting needs.
I think that's an apparition, but I don't think it's a paranormal one.
But that works. That works.
Yeah.
All right, we want to thank you guys again. This is
it's been awesome.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I mean, you guys are awesome. So, everybody that can see this on YouTube and Facebook. It'll be uploaded to wherever you get your podcast. We'll be on Facebook on Parapost Network as well as our pages. So tune in this next Sunday, this coming Sunday actually. We have one more show left, and then we are taking a break. But I won't
Summer break,
disappear.
woo! Summer break.
I won't take a break completely, but
I will.
I will.
I'll take the break.
All right, guys. We want to thank you very much, and
Yep,
everybody
Mhm.
have a great
Thank
Monday.
you.
See ya.